Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Logan Lessar. He's an entrepreneur, national motocross racer, world traveler, mindset, nutrition fitness coach, national motocross champion, business owner, and online coach. Welcome to the show, Logan.
Thanks, AJ. Good to be here. I've been looking forward to it, man.
You are welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm
Yeah.
sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the world will benefit from what we are going to talk about. We are talking about how to become the best version of yourself, and that we'll learn from you. My first question to you, Logan, is you are so many things, entrepreneur, racing, national motocross champion,
Yeah.
business owner, online coach. Uh, if I may ask you, is this the best version of yourself? Because you are already so many things, or the best is yet to come?
I still believe the best is yet to come. I remember Matthew McConaughey's, I think it was his Emmy winning speech or something like that. And he was talking about how he always wants somebody that he's chasing after. And the person he's chasing after is him 10 years from now. So he'll never be able to catch that person. And then like 10 years later, he's like, man, I'm not even close to what I was hoping to be. So no, there's always a better version to chase. But no, I'm definitely grateful and proud of where I've already come and who I've already become.
Absolutely. You are so many things. The best is yet to come, saving the
Yeah.
best for the last, perhaps. And you are only 19. The world has yet to see so much from you, of you. So, and then you are talking about helping people to become the best version of themselves. So, how does one do that? How do you take the first step? I'm very curious to understand, how do you decide your life? How do you plan your rules, your principles, being a champion, being a coach to other people?
Yeah.
What can people learn from you?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I've kind of figured out over the years is the mindset side, especially through racing motocross, because that's where I had to really, really figure out my mindset and the mental side. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to sports, like when you get to a certain level, there was an Olympic swimmer who actually pointed this out and said it, but she said something along the lines of, when you get to a certain level, everybody is good, everybody's talented, everybody has the skills, everybody's getting trained by the best of the best. So when you get to that point, it's 80% how you show up mentally and 20% what you actually know how to do and the talent and everything, which I found that to be 100% true based on my own experiences, because the number one thing that held me back over the years with racing was my mindset. I would do so well in practice. I would absolutely dominate in practice and feel amazing. But as soon as I got to the race, I would freeze and just would get so in my head that I couldn't go out and perform nearly as well as I knew that I could. So I had to overcome that. And as soon as I did, it was the biggest transformation I've ever had. And then that has led me to learning about mindset and finding out how important it really is in business, in life, family, racing, basically all areas. So mindset is the number one area. And then obviously on the fitness side of things, I'm really into that, because I don't think that you can really have a very strong mindset and be very confident unless you are in good physical shape, because that's kind of the foundation of everything, which I've been lucky enough to be in decent shape just throughout the years just because of racing. So that's forced me to train consistently. But when I have seen myself start to kind of lose shape, or I'm not really a fan of how I'm looking in the mirror, then that's where I notice, like, okay, I need to get my shit together again. And then as soon as I get back to that point, which I'm happy to say, like right now, I'm liking the way I look, I'm feeling good. So whenever I see myself in the mirror or I'm walking around in public, I have this like feeling of confidence, like, man, I know I look good, I feel good. So that's kind of the foundation of it all.
Absolutely, absolutely. To understand from you, just said that you overcome the problem that you have earlier. You have used to almost freeze in terms of doing what you wanted to, and then you overcome that problem. Why is it that people come to that situation? And in your case, how do you deal with that situation? Is it a magic wand or there is a process to it? How did you, because you also talk about the iron mindset. And
Yeah.
did you utilize the iron mindset here? Did you develop? Where did you get so much of iron to deal with that deep freeze?
Yeah, so when it came to the mindset side of like racing, which this can really translate into any sport in any area, but what I found was that like in practice, you don't really have anything on the line for the most part. Like you don't have sponsors looking over your shoulder. You're not worried about winning or losing or your competitors or anything like that. You're able to just kind of go out and do your thing and have some fun. And you're probably focused on learning a new technique or just getting better in general. So you're able to just kind of do your thing. Whereas as soon as you get to a race, it's a completely different situation mentally where you've got a million things going through your head, a million things happening, and all of it just stacking on top of your shoulders, which can become very overwhelming and it'll like block your ability to really focus. And that's what I really had to overcome. And for years, I knew like what the solution was, which was being able to get in the zone. Like all of us, it doesn't matter what area, even when we're working and stuff, like we get into that flow state, we get in the zone, we get in to whatever you want to call that state where it just feels like for riding, it feels effortless and easy. You're just flowing. Like whenever you make a mistake, you push right through it instead of getting irritated by it and letting it trail on to new mistakes that you make. Like we all know what that feeling is like, but for me, I had experienced it many times, but it was so random. Like it would just happen randomly. And I didn't know what the trigger was. I didn't know like how to control it. And I knew that if I could control it and I could get in the zone on command, as I like to say, I knew that that would be like the biggest differentiator. And I'd be able to ride at my absolute best, perform at my absolute best every single time. If only I could figure out how to do that and get in the zone. Like I knew it was possible because I've had it happen. Everybody has, like we've all gotten in that zone. But my main question and the thing that just would eat away at me is how does it happen? Like can't I why can't I control it? And that just led me down the rabbit hole of I just started learning about just mindset. I started reading tons of articles, going through programs, learning from different people when it came to the mindset side of things. And then it's the biggest amateur race in the country and arguably the world, Loretta Lynn's. And at that race in 2021 is where I had the biggest shift. And I actually ended up working with a mindset coach there. And she just gave me some techniques and systems, which you mentioned systems and processes, which at the end of the day, that's exactly what it is. It's not like a snap your fingers and you're good to go, or you learn this one thing and you're like, I got it now. Like you got to have your own system or process that works for you, which everybody's might be different. And I tried many different things. And then she taught me something that ended up working really, really well for me. And now I'm able to use that every time I go out and ride and race and be able to get in the zone. But at the end of the day, it just came down to trying different things, working with different people. And then once I kind of found my thing, I was able to stick to it. I was able to continue iterating on my process to improve it and make it better and better and make it stronger and stronger. And yeah, and then I'm able to kind of translate those same learnings and ideas to other areas and see, I wonder how I could use this for focusing in business or with just different areas of life. But no, that's pretty much how I got it figured out.
Right, right. And what about iron mindset? What is this iron mindset all about? You, as a coach, you talk a lot about that. So,
Yeah.
what is this about? And then, how can one cultivate such a mindset so that you become like iron and achieve all that you want to?
Yeah, so having an iron mindset or an unbreakable mindset, as I also say it, is basically most people, I would say, they fall victim to their emotions and reactions to things. And I think that having an iron mindset or an unbreakable one is where you have control over your mind versus your mind controlling you. And I think that the people who get the farthest in life are the ones who can control their mind, control their emotions, and more importantly, control their reactions to things. Because at the end of the day, things are going to happen in life. Like things happen that are outside of our control, like 100%. However, if you're the type of person who's got this iron mindset where you kind of, no matter what the situation is, no matter what happens, you look at it and you're like, okay, how could I have prevented this from happening? How can I learn from this? How can I move forward in a good way with this? and basically have a positive reaction to it. Whereas a lot of people, they let their ego get in the way, they let their emotions get in the way, and they are like, oh, well, whatever, I didn't have control over that. Like, this is BS. Like, that shouldn't happen to me, blah, blah, blah. Whereas somebody who's got a strong mind, they know that they can benefit from any situation, anything that happens in life, and be able to move forward positively from it. And I think the biggest thing with building a mindset like that is, first of all, becoming aware of it, because I don't think a lot of people are even aware. So becoming aware of it and the power that it has to be able to have that type of mindset and look at things in that positive way, where it's like, okay, this happened, which wasn't so great, but how can I benefit from it or get the best out of it? And then aside from that, it also just comes down to your view of yourself. Because I think that the biggest thing with having a strong mindset is having confidence in yourself, which that just comes with, I actually saw a quote of it the other day, and it was like, confidence comes from keeping promises with yourself, which is like, if you said that you were going to do something for yourself, like you said you were going to wake up tomorrow at 5 a.m, or you said you were going to start going to the gym, it's actually going through with that and doing it and keeping that promise with yourself. And over time, when you do that, you're going to build that confidence, because you're like, you have become the person who, shows up for yourself, and you'll show up for other people, and you always are going to do whatever it takes in order to win. The people who aren't confident are simply the ones who don't do that, and they just kind of float along and coast along and kind of let things happen to them, and they don't have a positive reaction to things, and they don't take life by its throat and actually take control of what's happening in their life. And they make excuses and they complain about things instead of looking at it like, okay, how can I turn this around? How can I get the best out of this situation? How can I grow? How can I get to where I want to go? Here's what I need to do in order to do that, and I'm actually going to do it.
Right, right. Well explained, Logan. Very, very well explained. Now, let me ask you this. You are only 19, very young, a long,
Yeah.
long way to go in life. You are a national motocross champion. You talk about racing to success, which is fair. In today's time, a lot of people think that they are into a rat race. They want to succeed, but at the end of the day, people say it's a rat race. As a young person, you have also traveled the world. How do you differentiate yourself that, okay, racing is racing, but life does not remain a rat race, which a lot of people, in that old race to find something for themselves,
Yeah.
it turns into a rat race. What would you like to tell them through your life? How do you plan your life? You travel the world, you travel to South Africa at 17. So what would you like to tell that racing, for success is different than life becoming a rat race? You seem to have a great head on your shoulders, and I want you to address the audience in that manner so that people get that better sense of this whole race towards success.
Yeah, so I think it starts with really figuring out what it is that somebody wants. Like, what is it that you want and why? Like, I think the why is the biggest part, because at the end of the day, most of us, we have an idea of what we want. And funny enough, sometimes we'll think we know what we want, but as soon as you start asking why we want that, you'll realize that you actually don't really want that as bad as you thought you did, or you wanted it for the wrong reasons. But once you start asking the why, like, why is it that I really do want this? Why is it that I do want all this money? Why is it that I do want the freedom to travel, or the freedom to or the time freedom to be able to do what I want? Like, why is it that I want that? Because simply saying those things is too vague. It's too broad. It's like, oh yeah, I want to be able to travel, or oh yeah, I want to have time freedom. It's like, well, why? Like, why does it matter? So I think that's the biggest thing, is figuring that out, because at the end of the day, to figure out how to get to where you want to go, first you got to know where you want to go. You can't create a map based on a destination that doesn't exist, because at the end of the day, it's going to be like standing out in the desert, looking around in all the million different directions and being like, okay, I don't even know what the first step here is to take, because I don't even know where I'm looking to go. So I think that's the very first step. And everybody's answer is going to be different. Everybody's why, everybody's motivator, everybody's like what they want and why they want it is going to be completely different. Mine's going to be completely different to even my brother's, So everybody needs to map that out first, I would say. And then aside from that, I honestly think one of the biggest things, which I'm thankful for my family, my crazy family in a good way, and the crazy things that I've done, because it's completely eliminated this from my life and my thought process, which is fear and taking risks. Because I will say, I have a very, very high risk tolerance, which is good, but at sometimes it's not. So I've had to learn over the years to control it. Because even when I was 17, 18, so like a year ago or 2 years ago, I mean, I traveled to Cape Town, South Africa. I was building my agency business, and it wasn't where I wanted it to be. And I was still living at home with the family, and I wanted to go back to Cape Town. So I didn't have the money to go there, but I flew there on credit card debt because I was like, all right, I'm going to fly there. I'm going to stay there. I'm going to work my ass off, and I'm going to get the business going. And I'm going to basically light this fire under my ass that's going to force me to have to make it happen, to have to make it work. I'm going to put my back against the wall and do it, which luckily I was able to do it. And I went there, landed my biggest client ever. But at the end of the day, I mean, was that the smartest thing to do? No, but it was a risk I wanted to take. And I didn't fear any of it, really. Like, I think that's the biggest thing that holds most people back, and what leads them into falling into the rat race or doing these things is the fear and not wanting to take the risk. Because I mean, I've seen plenty of my friends, for example, one of which I helped, he's now working on building his own business, and he basically went into college, very, very smart. He went into a really prestigious college, Colorado School of Mines, and he got in there, but he just it wasn't what he wanted. And what we figured out after I talked with him for a while is that the reason he went is because that was the norm. That was what his parents expected of him. That was what everybody expected of him. But it's not what he wanted. It's not what he actually wanted to do. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that people will just fall into the norm and go through the normal process that everybody expects them to do, or that they think they need to do because that's what everybody else is doing. And they're too afraid to go in their own direction and do the thing they want to do, because they're afraid of failing. They're afraid of what the other people are going to think. They're afraid of the criticism they're going to get from other people. Whereas at the end of the day, people only hate on what they gave up on. So if somebody was to hate on you for not going to college, like I didn't go to college, if somebody was to hate on me for that, I'm just going to look at them and be like, you're hating on me because I took the risk that you didn't take, that you weren't willing to take. Like, so I've never, I mean, obviously I've dealt with lots of fears in my life. I'm not even going to try to say I haven't. And I still do. But at the end of the day, when it comes to risk taking and fear, I just look at it where I'm like, if there's a situation where I want something, there's no possible chance that I'm going to let fear get in my way. And to get really personal, I've currently got my eyes on a girl right now, and I am not going to let fear get in my way of trying to figure that out, whereas most people will let that fear get in their way and get in the way of what they want, which that's going to lead them down a path of not feeling very good, feeling unhappy, feeling demotivated, losing confidence because they're not where they want to be. But I think that the origin of that and how that came to be was because instead of taking control, they let fear take control, and they just kind of let the fear guide them, and they weren't ready to take the risk. And the last thing I'll say on this point, which I could talk about that all day long when it comes to risk and fear, but the last point I'll say is I love what Alex Hormozi talks about. And he actually talks about death a lot, which at first people are like, whoa, that's pretty extreme. But after really thinking on what he talks about, it really makes sense, which is at the end of the day, and I need to figure out a good way to explain it, but at the end of the day, he basically says that we're all going to be gone one day, and nothing will matter anymore. Like, once we're gone, nothing will matter because we're gone. We're 6 feet under, So you might as well take the risks. Like, if you go up and talk to that girl today, when you're gone 100 years from now or whatever, it ain't going to matter. It's not going to matter a week from now if she rejects you or whatever, but in the long span of things, it ain't going to matter when you're gone. You might as well take the risk and try and build that business, because once you're gone, it ain't going to matter whether it succeeded or failed. It's not going to matter. So if you know what you want, you might as well take the risk and go after it with everything you got. And even if it doesn't work out, eventually it ain't going to matter anyway. So you might as well use your time the best that you can and not have any regrets. So that's kind of how I look at things.
Absolutely. Not only look at, you have explained it very well, and that I'm very inspired and impressed by your understanding of things on the ground about life. I wish
Yeah.
I had that much of an understanding when I was 19. Now I am almost two and a half times uh, what you are in terms of age. So I fully can understand what I'm very feeling very good about the way you have experienced life in your own way, and
Yeah.
talked about fears. Fears can stop you doing from a lot of things that you deserve, and it
Yeah.
takes a bit of a courage to fight not only outside fears or of a lion or a tiger, but of your own fears. And that is such a wonderful thing if you are able to. Even I have been, if I had been thinking about like my lights are not good, my thing is not good, you know I still don't have the best of equipment, I still don't have the best of everything, but
Yeah.
I have done more than 600 live shows, and
Yeah.
so I had to also look within and find. Even today people say, but I say it will happen, I will have better stuff the way the day I want to be. But if I just keep on waiting for the best situation to come in, and I don't create the situation, and always be fearful of how I will
Yeah.
look, what others will, all people want is a good conversation. So in
Yeah,
every
exactly.
conversation, every thought, you need to know why, your why. And if you understand that why, as you said, that will certainly be. So I'm very, very happy to learn it from a very young person on the other side of the world, but that whole thing resonates so well. So very nice to know that. Now let's talk about being the best version of yourself. How do I find the best version of myself when one is looking at so many things? This is such a chaotic life sometimes, and at that point in time, all you think is surviving, and not
Yeah.
forget about being the best version. You can't even sometimes think of thriving. What would you like to tell about that? And especially in terms of habits, is there any habit one can inculcate at whatever stage they are, so that they can become the best version of themselves?
Yeah, so I think becoming the best version of yourself, once again, I mean, the foundation is figuring out what it is you want and why you want it and where you're kind of looking to go. Because then once you know that, you're able to kind of figure out a path or at least a hypothesis for a path of how you think you can get there, which, I mean, most likely you're not always going to be right on the first try. And you may know the destination, yet the first path you mark out or you figure out might not get you there. But the important thing is just to start, like that's been my big thing is I've always been a perfectionist. So I've always been the type of person who will try and figure out every single piece of the puzzle before even starting to put it together. And that's not the way you want to do it. You just want to start on things once you've got like 60 or 70% of the information, and then you'll figure it out as you go. And that's the biggest thing. Like when it comes to learning about yourself and I mean in movies and all over the place you hear people say like they're going to find themselves, which I never understood that until I went to South Africa. Because when I went to South Africa, I learned a lot about myself that I didn't even know before, and it opened my eyes to so many different things, and it made me just learn about me and the things that I want and why I want them. And I didn't know that. And the only way that I could have known that is by just experiencing it, and by doing things and by trying new things. So I think the biggest thing with becoming the best version of yourself and figuring out what that even is by just trying as many different things as possible, knowing where you're trying to get to, and just trying a bunch of different ways in order to get there. And at the end of the day, once you've tried enough things, you'll find what you like and what you don't like. And then you'll be able to really find your path of what you want to do. And for me, for example, I've tried a lot of different things. Like I've tried e-commerce, like in terms of business, I've tried e-commerce, I've tried running an agency, like I've tried multiple different things. But then when I found building a personal brand and coaching and talking about things like this and racing and overcoming mindset and all that, that's where I found like I really love this. And then I also saw that people are really connecting with my message. Like on my Instagram, people are really connecting with my message, and it's really helping them, and it's the best feeling ever. So I found what I really like. But the only way I was able to do that is by going through all those other experiences that I already did in order to get to this point. So I think it's really about trying as many things as possible and just jumping in to as many things and really figuring out where you're trying to go. That's obviously the first step. Like, you don't want to just go try something and not know where you're trying to go, because then it might take you in the opposite direction. And then when it comes to habits, that also, once you've kind of figured out where you want to go and you have a hypothesis for how you can get there, then you can kind of figure out, okay, like what are the specific habits I could get into every day that will give me the highest likelihood of being able to get there? Like, what is it I can do every day that would make it unreasonable for me not to achieve whatever it is I'm looking to achieve? So if it's building, like in the agency space, for example, if it was getting more clients for my agency and I want to grow my agency and get more clients, then what is it that I could do every single day that would make it unreasonable for me not to get more clients? Well, it would be doing a lot of outreach every single day and making sure that I'm reaching out to 100, 200 people every single day. And it's like, okay, if I do that, it's a numbers game. And at the end of the day, like, it'd be unreasonable for me not to bring in clients that way. So that's kind of where I'd say the habits. Now, in terms of that's where it gets specific in terms of like the specific path you're on and what you're trying to do. But when it comes to just becoming better yourself, I think that some of the best habits you can do is make sure you're learning something new every single day, because then you're getting that 1% better every single day, which that'll compound over time. Another thing is making sure that you are working on your physical being every single day. So going to the gym or just doing some form of exercise so that you're always just getting stronger and looking better. And over time, like if you stay consistent with that and you're consistently going to gym 2-3 months from now, you're going to be blown away by how you look in the mirror. And at that point, you're going to want to stick to it because you're like, man, I like this version of me. And I don't want to go back to that 2 or 3 month old version of myself. I want to stay this and keep getting better. So I think that obviously exercising is one of the biggest things that you can do. And a lot of people say get up early in the morning, which I used to do that. I used to get up at 4:30 every morning. But at the end of the day, I do think sleep is important, and it's really just figuring out your own process. Because I even have friends who they're night owls. Like they don't do well in the morning, but they could work throughout the night and just get so much done throughout the night. So at that point, it's kind of like, okay, well then stay up later, get more work done, be more productive, and then you could just wake up a bit later. Like that's what works for them. So I think it's about kind of figuring out what works for you. But yeah, in terms of habits, it's figuring out what your path is going to be and then what habits would make it unreasonable for you not to get to where you want to go. And then the biggest habit, like personally, is definitely getting exercise in and just improving your health. Because when you feel and look good, you're going to feel better about yourself and you're going to perform better every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is much to learn from you. There is much, as you learn more about life, there is much, a lot of people can learn from you. So for those people who would like to learn more from you, know more about you, and for those who would want to do business with you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, so they can just go to my Instagram, Logan_Lessar. So pretty easy to find me, but I'm posting on there every single day and just sharing kind of things that I've learned over the years, things that I'm learning now, and just trying to help as many people as I can. So if they go there, they can obviously see all of that and hopefully gain a bunch of value just from that. And then if they wanted to talk with me, they could just send me a message. And if they wanted to work with me, we could take it from there. But no, my Instagram is the best place.
Wonderful. On this note, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you.